Hey everyone, this is a type of video that I haven't done in a while, but what a perfect opportunity it is to do such a thing, comparing a Lego toy to a non-Lego toy, in this case a Hasbro toy. These are both the exact same thing, and the fantastic thing here is that these are very close in size, which really helps to give more of a fair comparison in terms of value of how much toy you get between these two. Obviously, on this channel, I primarily review and do custom builds of brick-based toys. So things like this. So I know that most of the fan base will be heavily biased in favor of the brick-based toys, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. This is a great system, but I do like to, from time to time, kind of just look at what else is out there in terms of other more traditional toys. Now, this here is it's an $80 set in the United States. This here is a $50 set in the United States, and the ship itself from Hasbro is a bit larger. So just in terms of size of what you hold in your hand there, it's not that big of a difference. But there is definitely a difference there, especially with kind of the fuselage, the body of it. There's a little bit more of a difference in overall mass. And certainly with anything in fully molded, custom molded toy form, you're going to get more realism and more detail. I mean, you've got all the grid pattern for the solar arrays and or radiator arrays, whatever they're supposed to be, you know, all the small detailing in there, and that just kind of comes with the territory. And also this one has a fully realistic styled cockpit section on the front of it, and that's one of the biggest negatives that I've seen from fans of the Lego side of things with regards to the Lego version of this model, just because it has this brick-based front that isn't 100% realistic. I personally actually prefer this, you know, a build using normal pieces within this sort of system to going full custom for this. So it's a little bit of a trade-off there. This is actually a pretty good toy, especially for a brick-based thing, given that Lego has, or thanks to the fact that Lego has made their sets more and more durable. From just 10 years ago to now, comparing similar things, there's very little comparison really. This can be thrown, or well, not really thrown around, but it can be banged around a bit without parts falling off. It's very sturdy. Also, in terms of play value, it does have the shooting projectiles, two of those that are integrated very well, so that actually works out pretty well as something to actually grab and use as a toy and not a display item. Of course, those are areas where a more traditional toy typically would excel, and that's where, you know, traditional toys have kind of grown up with action features and the ability to grab them and fly them around, roll them around, you know, be rough with them. Hasbro these days is consistently using soft materials for wings, and they did kind of poorly on a number of the sets for The Force Awakens. They've done a little bit better here, I think, for this Last Jedi set with just a lot more strength in the wings. These are still flexible. They're not going to break, but they tend to bend, and it can be a little bit difficult sometimes to get some of these things to line up just right. But that doesn't affect the play value of it. And I think the durability is just fine. And this does have a really nice action feature actually built into it for shooting. The guns, the shooting guns are in here. You push this button on the top once and they extend out on the sides like that. So normally you don't see this kind of ugly toy-only thing that would detract from the appearance of it. And then you push that same button again once. One of those shoots off, those projectiles work well, and then you push it again, and the other one shoots off. So, okay, in terms of the play value there, that's pretty good. So far, they're actually seeming pretty even to me. You have the trade-off in looks. For me, as an adult, thinking from a collector perspective, actually it doesn't matter how old you are, but from a collector's perspective and for display. I would prefer to display this personally, just to have something, you know, up on the top of a bookcase or something, because it just looks good, you know, and it is truly a replica. It's scale model-ish. I don't know if the proportions are entirely right. I think the wings actually should be a bit longer. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong on that. But I mean, the level of detail is really good. But this Lego model does display well for a Lego model. And, you know, within its own context, it's pretty good. Figures is an interesting thing to compare, because this comes with one single figure of Kylo Ren, which is actually not a bad looking figure overall, but limited. You know, these are the cheaper ones that they do nowadays that have limited articulation. Good texture, good detail in there, but very limited articulation. The arms just go up and down. It's kind of like the classic Kenner figures that nobody used to complain about, but nowadays, just, you know, technology has progressed and consumer expectations have progressed. You can turn the head from side to side on a single axis, and you can bring the legs up and down so that you can actually put him into the cockpit there. There's nothing really to see inside of the cockpit. I mean, they do have a little bit of detail in there, but, you know, it just holds him. They have kind of a rubber band to help hold them into place as well. And these are actual windows that you can see through a little bit. They're just a little bit, you know, tinted, but, you know, you can still see that there is a figure in there when there is one in there. But the Lego set, this is interesting. The Lego set comes with a Kylo Ren also, but it's tiny by comparison. Now, nothing against Lego minifigures. I think they're great. But when I was a kid, true story, I had an opportunity when I was visiting a friend, not long after the Empire Strikes Back toys from Kenner originally came out. My friend was relatively well-to-do, and he had some of the toys, including some of the figures, and then he had some just smaller, like Army Men that were, you know, closer to this size. And I had kind of the opportunity over there to play with a few of these size figures, or like a whole army of these, or things of this size. And as a kid then, I gravitated straight towards the larger ones because there's more detail, you can grab them, and there's just more. It looks like there's more there. But thinking about play possibilities for a kid who is actually into Lego, or, you know, can appreciate things that are small in terms of quality over quantity, and also using imagination, the Lego set came with 3 full human figures plus Darth Maul. And I mean, Darth Maul kind of just seals the deal entirely and makes, you know, this a runaway victory where, you know, Hasbro just doesn't have a chance. But 4 figures, at least 3 figures, you know, even just keeping the super figure out of the picture, this is a lot more that you can do with these compared to having just one single figure. And there's no way that they could have included, you know, 3.5 figures with this set at this same price point. So I think Lego wins hugely by having just more characters. Yeah, they're smaller, but just use your imagination a little bit more and blow them up. Also, an interesting argument that can be made is that the Lego TIE Striker is more to scale with the figures. I think it's still not correct scale, but by comparison, in terms of accuracy, you know, that's actually a point where Lego goes up one. But in terms of price, is it worth going from $50 for this to a $80 smaller thing just to get a couple more figures? I'm not so certain about that. Now, here's something that gets really interesting in terms of value. I need to grab something from off screen, but for the price of the Lego set here, you can get this plus this Force Link starter set, which unfortunately also comes with just another version of Kylo Ren. These are the only 2 ways to get Kylo Ren, but you know, you get a little bit of duplication there in that case. But you do get the ability to get all this plus this and have $5 left over. And what this allows you to do, this is really, really clever what they've done here. This is the Force Link system, which will work with other sets, other figures that they release, so you only need to buy this once. You put 3 AAA batteries in there. And this is really designed for kid-sized hands, so this does not work very well for me, but this is a little transmitter unit. It has sounds in there, and there's a chip inside. This actually will read, I think it's like an RFID type of thing. This will read through your palm.
Darkness guides me. Get my ship ready.
So that's not the correct Adam Driver voice. You know, they've used a different voice for him. That's unfortunate, but you know, you do have this electronic thing built in, and yeah, I mean, my hand, like I said, my adult-sized hand is just not quite right, but when you get it right, you get the lightsaber sounds that go with the figure, and then all of their normal priced, they're like $7 or $8 figures, have that chip in them that will work with this system. What else works with this system is the fighter itself. So that's giving motion sensitive sound effects, and I'm not sure if you can see it right here, it's not that bright, but it is lighting up the engines there. Red, there's also light inside of there. There are no batteries inside, whoops, no batteries inside of the TIE Striker here, no batteries whatsoever. There's no place to put batteries in this. I looked. I thought maybe it came with some, but it doesn't. This is an induction coil system. It actually transmits power through your hand into the ship and gives you lights. So for the same price as that, you get, and there we go, you get the working lights and sounds and a couple of figures. And like I said, in this case, it just happens that with the comparison that I'm making, there are 2 Kylo Rens out of that. This version of Kylo Ren actually has different sounds, different voice sounds that he came with. And like I said, this doesn't work so well with big old adult hands, but I wanted to make that point that you can potentially get more play value out of this than it first appears once you look at the actual prices. So some interesting back and forth between these two, some unexpected things in terms of the values, in terms of the realism with the scale here, in terms of play value with the Force Link system here, but then comparing that to having more figures. Again, I know this is a channel that is mostly frequented by Lego fans, so there will be a lot of folks who are just going to say this wins hands down. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think that it is cool sometimes to look at other things that you may not know as much about and still may not like, but you know, it's good to have knowledge. It's good to kind of broaden your horizons. And I know there are also folks out there who are familiar with the 2 3/4 inch, you know, excuse me, I always say 2 3/4 inch stuff, 3 3/4 inch related stuff. That's just a mistake that I've always made. But yeah, you know, so just I wanted to put these into the same frame and talk about them a little bit, and I think it's interesting. But I think I've covered pretty much everything that I wanted to go through between these two. If you have any thoughts, feel free to leave comments down below. As always, just be sure to follow my comment policy in the video description. Check the pinned comment if there is one, and I'm going to get to work on some more videos, so I'll be bringing you some more content and talking to you again soon. Thanks for watching.